If you're watching this video, you're probably somebody who has high expectations for themselves and you're very ambitious. But as an ambitious person, you fall into the trap that all of us fall in eventually. And that's the trap of wanting to do something big, realizing how hard it actually is, and then starting to procrastinate. And then you start watching a whole bunch of videos on how to do that thing instead of actually doing the thing. Your problem is that you avoid the hard work. You don't know how to do the hard work. And that's what I'm going to fucking fix for you. You probably believe that you're ambitious and lazy, and I need you to stop believing that, because I think that every person that believes in the ambitious but lazy bullshit is fucking just stupid, right? That's like saying you're a fit torta. That's like saying you're a rich homeless man. It doesn't make sense. You're not ambitious and lazy. You're just fucking lazy. And you're not even lazy, you just don't know how to emotionally regulate yourself. And that's the problem that I'm going to fix for you right here, right now. This video is not going to have any fancy editing, no sharp cuts or anything like that, no stupid animation, because I'm only targeting the type of people that want genuine advice and only are looking for value and don't need none of that extra stuff to pay attention. If you're the type of person that needs all that extra stuff to pay attention to genuine life-changing advice, you are not the type of person that I want to help out. And I actually want you to click off this video right now. But if you can pay attention and give me some of your time for the next couple of minutes, I'm genuinely going to solve your laziness issue. Now, point number one. What you have to understand is that your body is always trying to stay in a state of constant homeostasis. What is homeostasis? That means your body has a baseline level for every single system that goes into it, right? It does not like to move away from this baseline. That's why whenever you get too high or get too low, your body automatically self-regulates itself back to your baseline. And that's for every system in your body, from caloric maintenance, emotional regulation, even your sex drive is all based off of trying to stay on a constant state of homeostasis. But the one system that we need to pay attention to here, which is a system that causes you to be lazy, we have to pay attention to your dopaminergic response system, aka just how your body responds to dopamine. You've probably heard about this a million times before, but either A, you need to hear it one more time because you obviously haven't heard it enough to actually do the work, because if you've heard it enough, you would not be watching this video right now, or it hasn't been explained to you to a level to where you actually understand what it is and how to fix your laziness issue. The rest of this video is going to be dedicated to teaching you how to self-regulate your dopamine. The first two things you need to understand is that every single system in your body has its own state of homeostasis, and every single system has its own baseline. Now, when it comes to these systems, right, every action that you take either raises your baseline or decreases your baseline. And we're gonna focus on your dopamine baselines right here, because this is the core of the issue. When it comes to dopamine, there are multiple actions that you're taking throughout your day that gradually and consistently bring up your dopamine baseline. These are things like eating super sugary foods. These are things like staying on your phone for too long. These are things like watching too much TV. These are things like playing video games. There are so many things that you're doing every single day that are gradually increasing your baseline dopamine levels, which means that when it comes time to do the hard work that you know that you need to do to get to where you want to be at, when it comes time to do the boring stuff, your dopamine baseline is so freaking high, it's damn near impossible. It's impossible for you to do so. And it's kind of your fault, but it's also not. It's your fault because you're not taking control of your dopamine responses and regulating your own dopamine levels, but it's not your fault because at the end of the day, we are all animals, and everything we have, everything we do is based off of some back end chemicals in our brain. The solution to this problem is to learn how to gradually and purposely bring down your dopamine levels or your dopamine baseline. And you do this by allowing yourself to be extremely bored. You see, all these actions that you're taking that are increasing your dopamine levels or your dopamine baseline, if you dig in and trace them back to what pain you're trying to avoid, because every single action that we take is built around either seeking pleasure or avoiding pain. If you trace them back, you'll realize that you're trying to avoid boredom, and you need to stop that. You have to allow yourself to be completely bored. The reason why you want to allow yourself to be completely bored is because when you reach the state of maximum boredom, everything above that is freaking great. So when you allow your dopamine baselines to drop so low, the work, instead of the work being down here compared to your baseline level, the work that you need to do actually is here compared to your baseline level. Does that make sense? But here's the thing. You can't just look at your baseline dopamine levels on a daily level. You have to look at them on a weekly, monthly, and even yearly time frame. This is because your baselines always reset to almost the exact same spot that they were the day before, and only incrementally change day by day. So let's say one day your baseline dopamine levels are over here, right? And you do a good job of just remaining bored and doing boring shit all day, right? That means the next day your both dopamine levels are going to be right here. That's why we have to extend the time frame that we're looking at our dopamine levels in, so that we can continuously track how low they're coming down and down and down and down and down. Because what you do, if you're looking at it on a daily level, your dopamine level is going to drop slightly and you won't notice a difference. So you're going to think that you're wasting your time, and then you're going to quit, and then you're going to start doing stuff that's going to raise your dopamine levels back up, and then that's going to be worse for you. Now, there are a couple things that you want to keep in mind. Number one, how you start the day sets the precedent for everything else that's going to go on in your day. So if you start your day with an activity that's going to increase your dopamine levels by a large amount, you're going to notice that it's going to be a lot harder for you to do hard things throughout the day. I've noticed that within myself. So every single day that I start off by scrolling on my phone, scrolling on TikTok and Instagram first thing in the morning, I notice that it's a lot harder for me to do the actual hard things. But luckily for me, I'm not a fucking bitch, so I can still force myself to do these things. But you, on the other hand, you can't do that. So what you need to do is you need to avoid starting off your day with dopamine-inducing activities, right? How I start off my day, you can check every single one of my previous videos. I post every single day. The very first thing I do every single day, first 6 to 8 hours of my day straight, no phone, no nothing else, is cold outreach through DMs. If you've ever owned an agency or a business or anything like that, you know how grueling cold outreach is. And that is my very first activity of the day. If it's not that, then it's taking a cold shower. This sets the precedent for the rest of my day. So everything else that I do towards the end of the day is going to be so much better than that, because that is literally one of the most ass cheek things that a human can ever fucking do. It's worse than cold. Okay, it's not worse than cold emailing. Cold emailing is, yeah. Anything cold outreach related is just fucking garbage. That leads me to number 2. You have to learn how to hijack your reward systems, right? What I mean by that is that dopamine is just released, number one, in anticipation of a reward. That's where most of your dopamine is released. And number 2 is when you actually get the reward. So when you understand that, you can actually kind of systematize your reward chains, which is, it's better to give you an example of how I do it, right? So every single day, for the first 6 to 8 hours, I do cold outreach, right? Right after that cold outreach, that's when I eat, right? Now, eating is an activity that gives your brain dopamine, right? So the way I'm structuring my brain to think is that the loop, it starts to associate the dopamine release of eating with the 6 to 8 hours of just grueling work. So that makes it a lot easier for that to happen, because there's a reward associated with that, if that makes sense. So what you have to do is you have to figure out, okay, what is this hard task that I'm trying to do that I'm consistently avoiding, right? And then you have to figure out how to associate a reward to the completion of that task. And then the last step of today is actually to not trip out about having one bad day. Remember, we look at dopamine baselines on a weekly, monthly, and yearly scale, right? We are all going to have, let me not say we, I'm not going to have a bad day. You are always going to have some bad days, right? So what you don't want to do, you don't want to trip yourself up after having one bad day that increases your dopamine baseline levels, right? Because if you're doing everything I'm saying over a week and monthly and yearly scale, the delta between the decrease and the increase of your dopamine baseline is going to skew heavily towards the decrease, right? So you do not want to trip yourself up over having bad days where you just don't get anything done. What you want to do is actually just avoid letting that be a repeated activity. So you allow yourself to have bad days, right? Or a bad day once in a while. Just don't let it turn into a habit. That's everything for this video. This has been episode 8 or 9, I forgot, of Solo Leveling, a daily series where I document my journey as an online entrepreneur. The purpose of this series is not to seduce you with a lifestyle. I just share everything that I'm learning in vlogs and sit down videos just like this one. If this is a journey that you want to follow me on, hit the like button, subscribe, and hit that bell notification to be alerted when I post tomorrow.